Did you know September is National Recovery Month? The fact is, if you have a drug problem, substance abuse treatment and mental health services really do help you put yourself back in control. Recovery is a one day at a time process, and it looks different for different people because there's no one size fits all solution. But it is possible to overcome addiction and live a productive, meaningful life. Living proof of that is Nick Voyles. Nick is one of the 23 million Americans in recovery from addiction to alcohol and drugs. Recovery is life-changing, and Nick is here to tell me all about his journey. I'm Torri, and this is the TMI Show. When Nick was an active drug user, he contracted hepatitis C. Hep C, if left untreated, can cause liver damage, cirrhosis, liver cancer, and even death. Right in step with the opioid crisis, rates of hepatitis C have been increasing among people aged 20 to 39, and about 72% of people with new cases report using IV drugs. The virus that causes it is very easy to transmit this way. That's because, according to the CDC, sharing or reusing needles and syringes increases the chance of spreading the hepatitis C virus. But hepatitis C doesn't mean forever. Thanks to the incredible new treatments available, Nick, thankfully, is now Hep C free. And he's become so passionate about helping people find a path to recovery and advocating for Hep C screening, he's made it his life's work. He's now executive director of the Indiana Recovery Alliance. Hi, Nick. Before we jump into your backstory, tell me a little bit about your life right now.
Thank you, Torri. My name is Nick Voyles. I'm 46. I'm the executive director of the Indiana Recovery Alliance here in Indiana, a harm reduction focused and principled grassroots coalition of people trying to empower people who use drugs and give positive change in their lives.
That's incredible. And I understand that you come from this from a personal place. Can you tell us a little bit about your history with drug use?
I was first pass with a dentist, tried pills on and off most of my youth. Around 16 or 17, I found heroin. And I was a chaotic user on and off until about 2005 or 6, when I found a methadone clinic that took me in and my life changed.
That's incredible. I know at one point you were homeless. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Chaotic drug use can lead to this. Mostly it was just not, I'd burned so many bridges at that point that I had no conceivable place to stay, no money to stay there. Finally I actually came back from being homeless to Social Security to now I own a house and I'm an executive director at one of the best places I could ever want to be.
That's incredible. And when were you able to kind of take a good look at that kind of what you called chaotic drug use?
So I'd spent about 4 or 5 years in prison and had gotten out, and all for just drug charges and stuff. And I was getting ready to marry the woman I love, and she had a child from a previous marriage who had cleft lip and palate. It's a real serious thing. 23 different surgeries over the course of his life, and at a certain point, I realized I had to do something about this if I wanted a future for me and for him and for all of us. It wasn't a one-day thing, didn't happen all at once. I just slowly used harm reduction, curbed my usage down, and then I just was on methadone until today.
Now, you said that it was a long process. It wasn't just a one-time thing. What was that process like?
Long and arduous, and making a lot of different choices that at the time I didn't think were possible. It was getting on a higher dose of methadone. It was listening to the evidence, not the stigma. It was understanding that, I needed to have a drug-life balance, and that regardless of whatever else, my behavior was erratic when I was a chaotic user. So I looked at my behavior and I corrected my behavior, the things that made those behaviors problems.
And can you explain a little bit more about what harm reduction means and how it helps people?
Sure. Harm reduction is a set of strategies and principles to help kind of curb the bad things that happen with people's drug use. Harm reduction centers on undoing or preventing some of the harms drug use can cause, both systemically and physically. So, we work with things like safer use, clean syringes, getting people to a place where they can feel okay about their drug use and maybe have different choices, that bring about positive change in their life. It's about not saying, hey, you have to quit now. What can we do to keep you alive?
That's beautiful. It kind of removes the stigma and then kind of shows people we're with you in this.
Yeah, the biggest part about it is our society tends to shame people who use drugs. We look at it the other side and say, no, you are beautiful, creative, and wonderful. Let's talk about you, your autonomy, and what you want for you.
And we talked about harm. I know that you have experience with hepatitis C. How did you discover that you had Hep C?
Oh, it was the worst. I went in for a random checkup, and the nurse came back with the results and said, crying tears out of her eyes, and said, I'm sorry, you're going to die in 6 months. You have hepatitis C. She didn't understand at the time, it was back a while back, and I just started to prepare to die and make my arrangements. And finally, I went to a gastroenterologist, and he explained to me, no, you're not going to die. And but it was one of the scarier moments of my life.
Do you have any idea when or how you contracted it?
I mean, I imagine I was always pretty careful, but that doesn't mean anything. I imagine sharing a water bottle with somebody or something to that effect is probably how I contracted the disease.
And how are you feeling now?
I'm feeling good. At the end of my ropes, I wandered into a little place called the Indiana Recovery Alliance and met a couple people here, and they cured me. My community cured me. Went to a nurse, had blood draws, was real professional, and got the medicine, and am now cured.
And tell us a little bit more about your experience with Indiana Recovery Alliance. Like, what led you to get involved?
So, I'd been a lifetime on and off drug user, and had always felt that I shouldn't be ashamed of my drug use. I never wanted to hurt anybody. I came in here and saw people fighting to end this war on drugs, and at the same time giving each one of the people that walked in for services this modicum of dignity, respect, and love. And it blew me away, and I was done. Second I figured out what harm reduction was, what they're doing, and the love and care these people put into this work, I was done. I can't imagine doing anything else.
You're an absolute warrior. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
A couple things, the first thing I'll say is there are tons of us out there doing this work. I am just one person, but that people who use drugs, we need to change the narrative around this. These are human beings. These are creative, vibrant souls. There is all sorts of recovery out there, and none is any better than the other, from abstinence-based to MAT, or your medication-assisted treatment, or to just curbing your use a little bit. All of it's on a spectrum. So I guess the last thing I could leave you with is, if you know someone who's using drugs or they're in your orbit, make sure you tell them you love them. Make sure that they understand that this radical love is out there if they want it, and that harm reduction is not only based on evidence and fact, but based on the people that are living it every day.
I could not think of a better way to end this. Thanks so much for your time, Nick. And if you're interested in finding more resources, check out the links below and make sure to get yourself tested for hepatitis C. Thanks for watching.